Last week, I met one of my friends who is into the corporate world. And he said he is very jealous of my profession because he was thinking that I'm globetrotting like a hippie and I'm working with many different people. And, I told him, as much as it sounds exciting, as much as it sounds rewarding, this profession actually is very challenging at times and even depressing at times. Only during those times, a mentor comes and gives you a hand and lifts you up. Boys and girls, guys, today I'm very, very, very happy to introduce Georgina Hills, my mentor, to you all. She has 2 decades of experience with luxury fashion brands, and now she has turned into a coach, a holistic coach who helps many fashion entrepreneurs like me. And we have a lot to learn from her and take away from her. Please meet Georgina Hills. Hi, Georgina.
Hi, Vino. Thank you so much for that introduction. I feel so humble.
I'm very excited and I'm very happy to have you here. Guys, and there is a scoop news. When I was a student, I interned with Dolce & Gabbana. At that point, she was my boss.
I know, full circle. We were meant to reconnect again for sure.
Full circle, for sure.
Yeah.
But when I met you first in Dolce & Gabbana office, you were working for the brand. Mm-hmm. And when I met you during my Dubai season 2 of my life, you have become an entrepreneur, a mentor helping fashion entrepreneurs. Yeah. Why did you make that shift?
I mean, I really went on a journey, I think, through 25 years in the industry. I kind of reached a point where it's an incredible industry to be in, but I'd actually burnt out. Over the years, for me, I kind of wanted to start, using my experience, with over 25 years of experience in the industry to kind of really, I suppose, share it with the incredible talent that is out there. Because kind of what I recognized, there are so many incredible people in the industry, through designers, that have an incredible idea or business concept, that maybe just don't have the strategic experience or the know-how to kind of really help them scale or grow their brand. And then also fashion executives that kind of really kind of need that help and support, within their, maybe in their corporate role. Last year I launched Room 102, my consultancy. I actually trained as well to be a embodiment life coach. So I had an incredible coach who I worked with for a couple of years, and she really changed my life. And I wanted to kind of bring in that experience to other people. And I focus on embodiment because, I trained to be a yoga teacher as well a few years ago, and I kind of wanted to bring all that in together. So, I recognize a kind of a need as well for wellness within the fashion industry, that work-life balance, and I was like, how can I bring in all my experience and all of my passions together, and really kind of build my sole purpose. And I guess it's what drives me now, is to kind of really empower these incredible women and men in the industry, and really focus on building the women that build the business. So whether it's through the mindset coaching or as a business mentor and a consultant.
When we speak about this transformation, 25 years of working for someone else, and then now working for yourself, what are the differences that you see?
Yeah, it's a big change. It's a big change because I've worked with huge corporate businesses and industries within the fashion industry, and you have that structure, that's a big part of it. You have that structure, that support systems and the support network. So you have IT that are there to support you. You have your HR team and HR services that are there to support you. You have a team. So to suddenly have no team, so you feel a bit lonely at the beginning, and I think that's for a lot of entrepreneurs. You do feel at times very lonely, and suddenly you don't have this team around you that are helping build your morale and your accountability. So it's suddenly like, you're on your own. You don't have to be on your own, but at that beginning, it's really kind of finding your feet and finding that difference. So, I think that was the biggest change for me coming out of that. But I mean, it's been incredible, because I used to, just to share an experience, I used to be not so strong on presentations, for example, whereas I can now create a presentation on Canva in 10 minutes, which would have taken me, 3 hours probably before, or I would delegate it because I would delegate it to somebody in my team, but I've had to learn. And as part of that, I've grown skills in other areas.
And also when you become an entrepreneur, from being a corporate person, you suddenly, as you said, you suddenly feel lonely. Suddenly you are not a boss.
Yeah.
Right? And that kind of humbles you.
It does.
You are the accountant, you are the boss, you are the person who brings tea, you are the sweeper, you are everything.
Yeah. It's going back to that, and you're juggling plates and different hats.
And what do you think? You meet a lot of entrepreneurs day in and day out. What do you think are the mistakes that they do when they start?
Common areas I see from, different entrepreneurs is, sometimes people don't have a clear vision. So they might have a really, beautiful idea, but not necessarily, okay, what is my long-term plan, or what is my long-term vision, and what are the steps that I need to kind of get there, and really building that vision statement, the mission statement. Market research is a big part of it, and I talk about this quite a lot, and about, you really need to understand who your competitors are. The fashion market, you could say, is very saturated, but there is a space for everybody. I completely believe in this. However, completing that market research and really studying your market in detail, and this takes time. You could spend 3 months, 6 months on doing this, and keep revisiting it as well. It should never be just something that you do once. You have to keep going back over the years, and to continually keep on top of your competitors, whether it's through, their product strategy, their pricing. So, really keeping an idea of what they're doing. And then that kind of helps create a USP. I've seen many designers out there as well that kind of copy other designers. They see successful designers. And I know we talk about this because I know it's something you're really passionate about as well, is keeping your USP and your DNA, which is incredible. They forget, they see, Saint Laurent have, an incredible ready-to-wear collection. I'm going to, recreate that silhouette, for example, because that's their perception. So, it's not about that. Saint Laurent are already doing it very well, or there's other brands like the Giving Movement, for example, who have taken that market and doing that athleisure sustainable strategy, doing it very, very well. So, it's making sure that you really kind of define that kind of USP. And then I suppose not planning their business, not planning funding. That's something that's very challenging, and managing cash flow, and maybe spending it in the wrong areas. So yeah, there's kind of different areas that I kind of see that come up time and time again.
I speak to a lot of students, that, right?
Yes.
And I see a lot of them, rather than having a strong business plan, they start planning how the office should look.
Yes, because that's exciting.
How many staff should I have?
Yeah.
What should I wear to the office every day?
Yeah.
And once they get into the business, that's when the reality gives a tight hit on the face, punch.
Yeah, and that's, like you say, you when you meet some of these students and designers, they're very much into the creative side of it and the aesthetic side of the brand, that they forget that, the fundamental side of it is you're running a business and you're growing a business, and having those steps in place. So having a strong business plan and having a strong vision and really understanding what your financials are and what your cash flow is such an important part of it.
Designers are artists, and I have seen many of them saying, I am good in designing, but I am not good in running a business. I am not good in managing money. And even big designers who are legends now in the industry, they all have someone as a partner who takes care of the business aspect.
Yeah.
And these people, they just design.
Yeah.
Right? You think somebody can do both well? How to tame both the animals?
Yeah.
That's quite a challenge even to me.
Yeah.
You know that very well.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can definitely do both. It's a skill set that you can grow, as long as you are committed to that side of it. As long as you are, committed to grow, mentorship is obviously a way to kind of really help with that. It also helps you being accountable as well for that side of the business. So I definitely think with the right support around you, you can actually manage both. And it's very important to plan your time, and very much time management is a big part of it. So you're making sure that you don't lose the essence of the creativity, and you allow yourself that time, but also you allow yourself and you plan that time, in your week, your month, your year, to spend time on maybe the not so sexy stuff, but what is important to really kind of, grow and scale your business. Because at the end of the day, everybody, it's not just a hobby, you want to be able to make a financial return from it.
The capital M.
Yes.
And I think they should also be open to learn.
Yes, very much so.
Right?
Very much so.
Like I used to be one who was so closed.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep saying like, I love Adobe, okay?
Yeah.
Don't bring any Microsoft near me. No Word, no Excel, please.
Yeah.
But now I am getting better at
Yeah,
it because I just had to break that mind block.
Yeah.
Had to learn.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll have to hire someone, which I can't afford.
Yeah. Yeah.
Necessity.
Amazing. Yeah. No,
is
it is.
the
And
mother.
And you probably feel amazing for it now that you've learned it as well. But mindset is another big part, I come across with, entrepreneurs, because again, it's going back to the creativity. A lot of the time, you start designing because you're very passionate about it, that you can be very hands-on and not want to outsource anything or let go of your brand. So I see a lot of that with many different incredible designers where they just don't want to let go, whether it's design or production or social media or anything like that. They just don't want to let go because they want to hold that creativity. However, it can be exhausting for that individual. They're not having that work-life balance that they need. But also it allows them then to scale, to maybe train other people and train, the future generations, or to work with incredible artisans, and scale their business that way. So yeah, mindset is something that comes up quite a lot.
So when you meet a lot of entrepreneurs, you think anyone can become an entrepreneur? Because as I told you, I met a friend and he said like, I wish I could leave my job and become an entrepreneur, start on my own. And, many have that dream.
Yeah.
But you think everyone can become an entrepreneur, or there are it's a special breed? Only these.
A special breed. Yeah. I would say, obviously there are some people that I think are built to be entrepreneurial, and you see them, out there, and they just open multiple entrepreneurial businesses back to back, and they can almost apply themselves to any industry. Doesn't matter, because there's almost a blueprint that they just copy from one to the next. A lot of these areas also can be learned. What you were saying earlier on, I think you've got to be open. So if you're open to growth, some of these behaviors can be learned as an entrepreneur. So it doesn't have to be a completely exclusive club, as long as you are open to learn, that you are open to setbacks. It happens a lot. I've been through it myself. You've got to be resilient, and these are behaviors that you can learn over time, and skills, that you can learn over time. So this is where coaching can come in and kind of really help as well with people, to kind of remind you that, that's the beauty of coaching, is that it is within you. You do have the power is within you, we kind of say. So that skill set can be within your body. Sometimes we just mentally block ourselves. So, yeah.
Releasing the mental block. And how do you do it? Like, releasing your own mental block. Yes, you can do it.
Yeah.
Because it's your own mind.
Yeah.
But you are mentoring many other individuals.
Yeah.
And each one is different.
Yeah.
One can be very resistant. One can be open to change, right? How do you deal with all these different personalities and individuals and help them come out of the shell?
Yeah. It's interesting, because a lot of the time people come to me because they've kind of got to the stage that maybe they realize that they're open to change, and they're open to help. And there are some people that are very different to that approach than others. But we kind of do a lot of work around your mindset. Imposter syndrome, for example, is something that comes up, quite a lot. So what we do is we kind of, through questioning, we really explore, okay, what are your beliefs that are making you believe that maybe you're not good enough to do this, and then this is kind of what we kind of really untap and explore, in order to kind of move forward. And beautiful ways to do it. I was talking about it with somebody yesterday who potentially is looking to open their own brand and their own business, who is super talented, is working with a very successful brand here in the region. And I was like, there's no reason why you can't do it. Look at the success that you've had so far. And sometimes it's taking it back to periods of your life where you've been successful. And when you reflect on those moments, you actually realize that, yes, it's amazing. I have achieved that. And sometimes you need that reminder. And that's what you do as a coach. You help people to help themselves, and as a mentor as well, it's kind of, you move across from one to the other, depending on whether it's, you help them find the answers themselves or guide them a little bit.
But, mostly our brain works in such a way that it simulates only bad situations. It tries to remember all the threats, all the bad moments that happened to you, rather than catching hold of all those successes. And somebody has to remind that you were capable of doing it, and you are really good at it. Especially when you are guiding fashion entrepreneurs. Right? Fashion is a game of volume. The more you procure, the more you produce, the more you sell, it gives you more profits. But for fashion startups, investing that much of money, time and energy anyone can invest. But the money, the sheer volume of money that you have to pump in is disheartening for all the startups. So how can new fashion brands handle this challenge?
No, I mean, it's a challenge that comes up quite often. I mean, there's different ways you can do it. Obviously I work with brands that have a very sustainable or slow fashion ethos. If you look at my client profile, this is all the clients that I work with. The idea is to kind of, doesn't have to necessarily mean you produce more to sell more. It's actually producing the right collection. You can do it even in limited quantities. Have a slow fashion business model where you can produce, smaller MOQs, even though this is a challenge that many new businesses face. Create smaller MOQs in order to kind of not hold as much product. Or a marketplace business model is another way that you can actually achieve this as well. So, and then making sure you're producing the right range, producing the right collection. It doesn't have to be 100 SKUs. Keep it, I usually say to most brands, to have around 15 to 20 SKUs, because you want to have a strong range that you can really build. Through your research, just making sure that the silhouettes and the collection, if you're talking about ready to wear brand, for example, is, meets your client and your client persona and the client that you're trying to target, but also is right for the region as well. So obviously consider that. Best-selling silhouettes that work very well. So obviously, this is obviously where I can come in and kind of advise and support. And there's many different platforms as well that you can download free reports that will allow you to kind of really refine your collection. So, all those little steps kind of really help you at the beginning to kind of really establish your brand, that you're not investing so much in stock. So it allows you to invest in marketing, which obviously is another big investment and a big cost that's important when you're first starting out. And
among your client profile, do you have a lot of men fashion entrepreneurs or women fashion entrepreneurs?
They're all female at the moment. It's quite interesting, I think, because I talk about, obviously, female empowerment. It's something that is very, I'm very passionate about. I've worked with, some of my first clients were Black-owned female brands, an area of the fashion industry that's kind of underrepresented, So, at the moment, very female. I have had I've had one male client who we did a very short project together, but the majority of them are female. So,
Why I asked you this question is,
good question.
I want to know what are all the challenges that women fashion entrepreneurs face specifically.
Yeah. I know, I talk about imposter syndrome, but that comes up a lot. I think that women naturally we feel like we are not good enough. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves in society to compete against men. So this is something that comes up, I think, as an entrepreneur and in the corporate world as well. Balancing, motherhood is another part of it. I suppose there's many challenges around this.
Balancing family, balancing hormones, moods.
Yes, hormones, moods. And I think the perception as well, you kind of get to a point as an entrepreneur where you'll need to invest, you may need to look for an investor. And I think sometimes there's still this perception of, in the industry, would I invest in a woman-led business? I think it's changing a lot. And there are now, a lot of investment companies that focus on female-led businesses. That's kind of shifting, but it's such a long way to kind of go.
Finding the investor, I have something to add here. I met someone some time ago who wanted to invest in my business. And the first thing he told me was, I don't believe in sustainability. I like your designs. I like your brand. So I want to invest in your business. If the intention, if the purpose is not aligned, then for a social entrepreneur like me, getting a third party into the system may actually dilute the whole purpose itself, right?
And it's funny, I work with somebody else who has the same challenge and is facing the same challenge. It does come up a lot. And it's very interesting because I think as women, naturally, we, I suppose, are more of an ambassador for sustainability than men are. So naturally, it's something that really drives us as women. So I think you even see there's more female-owned sustainable brands than there are men. I mean, even look at the luxury fashion industry. You've got Stella McCartney, who is a prime example of somebody who's been an ambassador of this for years. Yet who else is there in that space that is such an ambassador as she is? And look at Expo. We had Expo here. She was the only one that was speaking. There was nobody else really from the fashion industry. For men, as yet, it's not as important. It is changing. There are more male-owned sustainable brands coming through, but not as many as the female-owned brands. And as you say, it's like it means so much to you it's what drives you, isn't it? Every day, and a lot of the time, that's what makes a business successful. It doesn't have to be, the numbers will follow, is what we used to say. As long as you're really driven by the business, obviously have the foundations and put everything into place. But then naturally the numbers should follow.
Put your heart there.
Yes.
The numbers will come. As you said, women, we juggle a lot of hats. The support from the family is a primary pillar for a woman entrepreneur. In some cases, there may not be enough support from the family also. And I have faced this. Initially, when I started, my business was considered as a hobby, was not taken seriously, not from my own family. Of course, they are a big support to me, but the secondary, tertiary family members, they considered this as a hobby. She's just doing something like that. And, women are expected to do certain things in this society, also for the family and everything, right? And that puts a lot of mental pressure also into us. We have to do everything. And it is so overwhelming. And how can we manage it better? It's
amazing how supportive your family are. But I mean, really leaning on that support as well. You need to, I think, be kind to yourself, that mental pressure, like just be gentle. You are having to, juggle lots of hats and spin lots of plates and manage the home life and manage your business and, and everything like that. So be kind to yourself, really delegate what you can as well. Like, you don't have to do absolutely everything, so if there's something that you can outsource or, whether it's your social media, for example, or, there's something you can delegate to somebody else. And then it's just managing your time, and whether you're a mother or family or on your own with a cat or a dog. I'm a cat mum. You look at managing your time, setting your boundaries as well. That's another big part of it. And this is kind of what gets lost, I think, when you start as an entrepreneur as well, and even throughout the journey. setting boundaries is something that, again, I talk about quite a lot. It's very important to do that, because this is kind of really what helps you with your work-life balance and with that self-care. So you have that time for you as well, because then, you know, when you're having that time, that self-care time, you reflect. And this is when sometimes as well amazing ideas can kind of come out.
And how do you take the highs and lows of the business and remain stable?
That's a really good question. No, it's a roller coaster. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I'm experiencing it, you know, and to be honest, the last couple of weeks I had another low, and you know, it's constant. You know, you're going through these times when you have to really kind of celebrate the highs when they happen. I tend to, you know, I'm a hyperachiever, for example. So already when I have a high, I'm like, right, what's next?
Yeah.
What's next? I've done that. And I don't take time to celebrate it. So that's something I'm trying to adjust myself. And what I share with other people as well is to kind of really, you know, when you have those highs, celebrate it, you know, and really take the time to celebrate it and recognize what you've done, because it will help you going forward, especially when you hit the lows, like I did the last couple of weeks. You know, you have lower periods where, you know, you have to kind of feel it, but also remember what you've achieved so far and those growth periods to help you bring yourself back out again the other side, you know. And I always recommend, you know, for me, for example, a tool that works for me is exercise. You know, I notice when I don't work out, I'm one of these people that goes to the gym at 6 a.m. in the morning, you know, and I always recommend with everybody, you know, find any movement or what works for you, you know, what self-care that works for you. So when you have those low moments, you go and bring that back, you know, whatever it means to you, whether, you know, exercise is an important part, could be your happy place, whether you go to the beach and just spend that time there, could be with your kids. Come back to that when you're feeling low.
And I think everyone has to come to terms that it's okay to fail at times.
Yes, yeah, very
it's
much
okay.
So. Yeah.
I mean, your life can't be all about win.
No.
Right?
It's not real. It's not real life. It really isn't. You know, I went to a talk with Stephen Bartlett, which is quite an interesting one. And one of the biggest takeaways I took from that is he has a head of failure. So somebody, and he's a serial entrepreneur, and they just fail because he's very much, you know, he takes projects and we just fail because then that's how we learn and that's how we grow. And a lot of the time is when you fail at a project, it's because something better is going to come, and you learn and you adjust to help move it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so don't be scared to fail. Yeah, and I found that hard at the beginning myself because, you know, I can be a bit of a perfectionist. You know, it comes from being, you know, both a Virgo and I'm part German. It's a double. My father was in the British Army, so even more, you know, it was very, I liked things to be very structured and very orderly. So, you know, you don't have to. And this is where you grow and you learn.
You kind of loosen up.
Yes,
it's okay.
You do.
Shake your head.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing how you said it's okay to lose.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And where does yoga and meditation come into this? Because your coaching includes that too.
Yes.
So how do you think that will help someone?
The idea of embodiment coaching is that it allows us to get out of our heads and into our bodies, because, you know, we tend to, you know, our brains can tell us tell us lies, for example, and tell us stories, you know, from our past, you know, maybe from our upbringing, maybe what we were told when we were a child, or anything we may have picked up throughout our lives. So we can storytell and tell each other lies, or tell ourselves lies. But the beauty of embodiment is it allows us to get into our body. So if you think of the expression, you know, when you listen to your gut, how many times is it right? Like literally it can be 99%. When you listen to your gut, most people will say, you know, 99% of the time, when I listen to my body, it was right. And that's it. It's the idea of taking yourself out of your head, that you're not overthinking about that problem or that situation. And by using breath work and by using meditation and by using the yoga, what we're doing is we're taking ourselves out of our head. We're focusing on what's happening in the body.
Ancient science.
Yes.
I'm a big advocate.
Yes. I know how much you love to practice yoga too.
I vouch for it always. Something that had put me stable. And thank you so much for being there with me through this journey. And we have discussed about starting this podcast, like whether to do it or not to do it. And, you have been part of my journey. And I'm so glad that, our paths crossed again.
Me too.
After the intern phase.
Yes. That's it. And it's so inspiring to see, from that time as well, your journey and how much you've grown with the business as well. So it's been amazing. And what you are talking about and speaking about in terms of sustainability and, making a difference.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. And it was wonderful having you here at the studios. Thank you, Georgina.
Yeah, thank you.